Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is Monday, the 17th of March 2025, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with Pakistan's war against terror. Whether it be Balochistan or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, we are seeing an increase in the number of incidents. We've highlighted what happened with the Jaffer Express, but there have been other incidents in Balochistan since, and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as well. There have been a spate of incidents in the last couple of days. Why this time? Why even during the holy month of Ramadan do terrorists that claim to portray to be Muslims continue to organize such nefarious and heinous designs towards our country is something to watch out for. Also, the fact remains that we see many of the incidents that happen here, but there are so many incidents that we don't get to see because they are thwarted even before they begin. So, of course, our armed forces and defense forces need to be lauded for all the work that is being done behind the scenes as well. At the same time, there is an interesting meeting of intelligence chiefs also that is happening in our neighborhood country, India. And that also points a lot of fingers towards the timing of it all, where on the one hand, India itself is involved in nefarious activities in Balochistan and indirectly in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. On the same hand, it is trying to portray itself as some kind of a security giant. Nevertheless, this is what we will discuss in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the latest incidents as far as Gaza is concerned, but this time also Yemen. There is a tit for tat between the Houthis and the Israelis in the last few days. The number of casualties are also increasing as far as Yemen is concerned, where at least 53 people have been killed in the last few days. The fact is also that this is a shift as far as Yemen is concerned, an increase in hostilities that has been ordered by Donald Trump. On the one hand, we have talks of ceasefire between Israel and Palestine, or Israel and Hamas, that are now under discussion for the continuity of this ceasefire. But on the other hand, there is an escalation of violence and also very harsh statements when it comes to Yemen and also Iran. What is the current scenario as far as the US government is concerned? Is Donald Trump changing the current world order as we speak? This and more will be discussed in our second segment. Then we will be talking about stranded US astronauts. We have talked about it last week. There are 2 stranded astronauts and cosmonauts also that are stranded in space, but now NASA has kind of accelerated the mission to bring these back, and they will apparently be returning tomorrow. That has been confirmed by NASA. So finally, good news as far as that is concerned, because these astronauts have been here for much longer than expected because of technical delays. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin our show, and our first story, of course, concerns terrorism, our war against terrorism that has been happening in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, among other places. We've been joined by 3 guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we have 2 very eminent guests today. Khalid Taimur Akram, one of his our expert on the region, joins us in the studios. Thank you very much, Khalid, to have joined us. 16th of March, a vehicle-borne suicide bomber explodes on a security forces convoy in Nushki. 5 brave sons of soil embraced Shahadat, 3 security personnel and 2 innocent civilians, and 3 terrorists are effectively neutralized as well. Then we've got the Jaffer Express incident as well. Last month we had 18 soldiers who were martyred, 23 terrorists were killed in various sanitization operations in Balochistan as well. Why is Balochistan repeatedly being targeted over these last few days, and why is there an aggressive approach by the terrorists? I'd like to understand this, because the terrorism has been there, but we've seen an increase in such incidents over the last few days.
Yes, you are absolutely right that since last few days and last few weeks, there has been intense terrorism in Balochistan. There are many reasons. The first reason is this, that the world has seen, and especially the countries who are not friendly with Pakistan, they saw the kind of Chinese response which was given to the recent visit of the Prime Minister, and the Chinese government pledged that they are going to fully support CPEC and they are going to fully enhance their investments in Pakistan, which is seen as a very positive omen for Pakistan. And also we saw the Shanghai Cooperation Organization head of the governments coming to Pakistan, and almost every Central Asian country leader showed keen interest in CPEC and of course in Gwadar. So one is this. Second reason is this, that the Afghanistan situation Unfortunately, the Afghan government is restricted to, a part of the government is restricted in Kabul, a part of the government is restricted in Kandahar, and both of them are at odds to each other. And the complete situation is exploited by India and other hostile countries, and they are continuously supporting the terrorism from Indian side in Pakistan. And other than this, India is continuously watching Pakistan's progress since last 1.5 years. We have seen that Pakistan is making considerable growth in economy. Pakistan is making considerable growth in regional connectivity. Pakistan is now also member of, non-permanent member of the Security Council. So everything adds up to what is happening right now in Balochistan. We are seeing this intense activities of terrorism only because of these reasons that particularly India, they're not happy with whatever is happening. They, through this state terrorism, state-sponsored terrorism by the Indian government, and the loose government in Afghanistan, because the Afghan territory is basically used for merging up of the terrorist organizations. BLA initially, it used to be a separatist organization, but now it is a full-fledged terrorism organization. BYC, the so-called human rights organization, which is being supported by many international human rights organizations. So every time, so if you see the pattern of the activities happening, every time somebody from Balochistan goes and joins the BLA camp, the BYC people would declare that person as a enforced disappeared person, and they would start making hue and cry. And eventually, after every attack, we find out that those so-called forced disappeared person is part of that attack. And if you see the recent attacks against the Jaffer Express and all the weapons they were used, they were all American weapons. These weapons are loose in Afghanistan, so they are getting those American night vision goggles, American weapons from Afghanistan. So the basic, I would say, the reason for this terrorism is coming from Afghanistan. We need to sit with Afghans. The international community needs to sit with Afghan government. They need to make them understand. And of course, India. India's role has to be exposed. Pakistan is trying to expose India's role at all platforms, but it needs to be further told to the world.
And that is so true. Khalid Saab, Brigadier Saab talks about operations, but it's about India, and he talks about Ajit Doval. Now, let me take you to Ajit Doval, where he yesterday held bilateral talks with not only the US Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, but also chaired a conclave of top global intelligence czars that was focusing on, quote unquote, boosting cooperation in confronting various security challenges, including terrorism. Whether it be the US Director of National Intelligence, Canadian Spy Chief, UK National Security Advisor, and many other countries like New Zealand, Germany, Australia's intelligence chiefs were also there. Our Chief Minister in Balochistan says that we are in an intelligence-driven war waged against the state of Pakistan by the RAW and other hostile agencies through Afghanistan. On the one hand, India is behind all the incidents that are happening in Balochistan and in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa directly or indirectly, and on the other hand, it is trying to portray a very different image. And just look at the timing of it all. The timing of Jaffer Express incident, what is happening in Balochistan, the last incident on the 16th in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and then it holds this meeting. What is it trying to do? What is it trying to achieve by such duplicity and hypocrisy?
Yes, we have to first see that why India is doing these things, because if we see India getting impatient after 20th of January, because when Donald Trump, he took oath and he all of a sudden announced lots of tariffs on India, and even during his speech to the Congress, he was hard-hitting towards India, because India had levied 100% taxes on the American automobile industry, and on the other hand, the Indian automobiles were coming to America. And then we saw Indian Prime Minister Modi going to America, and in front of Prime Minister Modi, President Trump, he was very explicit on the tariffs and on the other things also. So India is in a state of nervousness. They want to prove to Donald Trump that they are the main allies of America in this region. If we see the extent of visits by the Indian government officials in last 2 months, it is immense. Their commerce minister was there, their foreign minister was there, their interior minister was there, their national security advisor was there. So in last 2 months, the Indian government was in a state of nervousness, and is still, because for them, America is their key ally. For them, America is their strategic ally. For them, America is like a father. And once they see that the American umbrella going off their heads, so they are in a state of nervousness, because they do not, they still don't agree to the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative program. They still are alienated in the region. That is the reason that, and Pakistan is constantly telling the world about the Indian hypocritic environment and the kind of attacks which are they are planning through the Afghan soil and through their own soil. And they are using not only Afghanistan, but they are using the lands of many other countries. Last year, the Canadian government and even the American government, they had warned India that not to have these kinds of activities on their soil. So these timings of this getting together, these countries, and if you see the countries which India invited for this thing, they are all one way or another anti-China. So the India will use the anti-China theme with the Western countries. India will use this theme to get their sympathies. The India is going to use these kind of themes to get the sympathy of the Donald Trump, so that India can distract the world from what actually they are doing. What actually they are doing is that they are trying to destabilize Balochistan, they are trying to destabilize Pakistan, they are even trying to destabilize Afghanistan. The present tug of war which is going on between the interim Afghan government officials, even India is behind that also, because they want to have their permanent foothold in Afghanistan. They want to use Afghan soil against Pakistan. And let me tell you one thing, the kind of capability which India is trying to make in Afghanistan, maybe tomorrow India may attack some other country. It is not only Pakistan which is on the hit list of India. Donald Trump and his team should realize this fact, that India has developed a capability of attacking their enemies in America, in Canada. So if there is some kind of attack tomorrow happened in Europe or in America and or in Canada, of course India is going to be behind that. And this is the time that the US administration, United Nations Security Council, and all the big powers of the world, especially the European Union, they should sit with India, they should confront India with whatever they are doing. Because India has, in last 2 years, India has done a lot of attacks against Khalistan movement, Sikhs in Canada and European countries. So all these things needs to be consolidated at one platform, and the world community needs to confront India with this. And especially whatever is happening in Afghanistan. The other countries surrounding Afghanistan like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, China, they also need to sit with Afghans, and they also need to put some kind of sense in the Afghan government that if they continue supporting the, and if they continue giving their land for the Indian operations against Pakistan and against other countries, so tomorrow the regional countries will not support Afghanistan.
But that is something that has to be looked at in this. That's something that we need to see happening and actually being implemented in action, because until and unless that doesn't happen, I think Afghanistan will continue doing what it is doing. Khalid Saab, Israel, despite the ceasefire with Hamas, continues its killing and butchering of people. 29 people have been killed in the last 24 hours in Palestine alone. 48,572 Palestinians killed so far, and the actual numbers are even higher, because once the war ends, we'll really know how many people have been killed. To add to that, there is food scarcity. the food is not being made to enter. 15 days have passed where there is a blockade of aid to enter into Palestine, and to add to that, there's an electricity blockade by Israel as well. UNICEF and other UN organizations are repeatedly calling for help, but maybe I don't know whether they are falling on the right ears or not. What should be now done by the parties that be? Is it something that's going to continue? What is the game plan?
Actually, the agreement which was done between Hamas and the Palestinian authorities and Americans and Israelis, it was quite a loose agreement, and it was basically forced upon Israel also, and it was forced upon the Palestinian also for its acceptance. The agreement lacks lot of things. The agreement basically only revolves around the exchange of prisoners and stopping of the word war, but it does not say that these kinds of attacks should also not happen. I think US needs to play a more assertive role. US needs to bring in their weight in it. Although President Trump has stopped the money going to Ukraine, he has stopped money going to various kinds of wars in the Middle East, which was basically started by Americans. But the money is still going to Israel. Israel is still being patronized. So the US administration has to have a wholesome view of the complete Middle East, because it is not only Gaza Strip, it is complete Palestine, it is West Bank also, it is Yemen also,
It's
it is
Lebanon, it's Syria.
Lebanon, Syria. So the US needs to stop this erratic approach of enforcing the agreements on various parties. They need to have a wholesome view. They need to call upon, they can use the platform of United Nations or Security Council, or they can themselves call the stakeholders like Jordan, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel on one table and make a wholesome policy for stopping these things. Meanwhile, US should again exert its influence on Israel, and at least Israel should fulfill whatever they have signed in the agreement, because they are not letting the aid go, they are not letting the medicines go, they are still attacking, although Hamas is returning back their prisoners, but the attacks are happening every day. So the only thing which has changed since Donald Trump has taken power is the word war is not being used. The word is being changed by the word strikes. So I think the US needs to, if the US will not take into account all these things, very soon the international players and all the stakeholders will lose their credibility in US. The US will face a major credibility issue very, very soon if they don't come up with a solution, and if they don't make all the stakeholders sit together.
All right. I mean, this is something that has been going on, and I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of hopes in Donald Trump. Let's hope he says, as he portrays himself, to be the anti-war president. Thank you very much to both of my guests, Khalid Taimur Akram Saab, one of his experts. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new segments, stories that pertain to us here in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.